Hello, everybody. This is a presentation by myself, John, Lauren, and Noah, and we're going to be talking about our social media project, which is titled Corn Chefs, which is just an exploration of an online community.
So our first idea was Hidden Gems CPH, and our purpose was to show people cool places to check out in Copenhagen while they're visiting, studying, or living in Copenhagen. Although it didn't go as well as expected, and our new page, Corn Chefs, has taken a really successful turn. We actually had a Serbian blogger talk about our. And if you read down on the right, she had some nice things to say about the purpose of our page. And it's basically to spread healthy recipes to keep people's immune system good and allow people to share what they're doing, what they're making, and any other healthy ideas that they want to contribute to the page.
So in terms of our follower engagement, I think we've done a pretty good job creating a follower base that I think relies on the recipes and the things that we produce. And then on top of that, as compared to a lot of other food Instagrams, we interact with our followers in our DMs on a daily basis. So I think that's something that sets us apart from other Instagram pages, and I think that our followers really feel connected to us in that way.
Our key engagement strategies, our spreadability is really easy because people are able to share our recipes on their stories. And our participation, we have people using hashtags, we have them sending recipes in our DMs or sharing posts that we have shared. Our many-to-many communication is the fact that, again, we share recipes and people share recipes with us. And people are really engaged in the comments, and they say they want to try the food and it looks good. And the user-generated content is really, it's basically has its own thing going on because people are actually tagging us in the dishes that they make. So the community building is basically done itself. People are really excited about sharing their food.
And just to build on that, we initially started out as like a one-to-many communication platform where we create the recipes, we cook, and we post. But after we gained more traction, we were able to get a lot of unique submissions from others. For example, I think my favorite one was a submission of, on the right, it's ramen, like packaged ramen, using an innovative way that we had never seen before. So we like this new type of content where others can, through our platform, communicate with others in a many-to-many communicative process.
Oh, my bad.
No, that's it.
Okay. Alrighty, so first we decided to do a study of personal analytics, which was pretty easy with the help of some Instagram tracker apps, which helped us keep track of the numbers and more ideal times to post. So interestingly, the best time to post is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Thursdays, and the best time to post stories is 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Fridays. And it's kind of interesting to think about the space that these kinds of apps occupy in the App Store and how that speaks to virality when it comes to certain types of content, like food content. So studying these charts, we start to realize different number relationships, like between inactive followers and active followers, and comments per post and total comments. And interestingly, the highest number that we had to do with our likes. So we had very high likes, which suggested that we were on many explore pages. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't seem that the explore page is helping us gain followers. In fact, a lot of our following comes from followbacks from other food accounts, which I'll talk about in the next slide. But so far, our follower ratio is not ideal. We follow around 2,000 accounts, and we only have around 1,000 followers. So Going forward, we're going to try to think about how to improve our strategy using these numbers and these charts, these weekly best time to post charts, to think about how we're going to change our angle. And then this is just a slide about global analytics. It's more of a fun fact slide. It kind of gives an interesting insight into the food community online. So food, as I'm sure everyone is aware, is an extremely popular theme on Instagram. It has been since the beginning of social media. In fact, some of the most viral posts in the beginning of social media had to do with food. And 69% of millennials take pictures of their food that is intended for online sharing, which is very interesting. That is a very high number. So kind of going back to what Lauren was talking about, the content makes itself. A lot of people already have pictures on hand. And a lot of times people think about their daily lived experiences as how can that translate online, and that works to our advantage. We also noted that food lovers consume 4 times more content than the average Instagram user, which is also very advantageous for us. And food lovers connect to Instagram an average of 18 times a day, which is a very high number. I believe the average for an average user is around 14 times. And food accounts are responsible for more than 250 million posts per month, which is a good deal of online content and occupies a lot of the space on Instagram. So as you can see, global analytics are looking pretty good for food sharing. So we are at a good advantage going into this market. Okay, and now talking about audience, as I kind of touched on, a lot of our audience has to do with the food community. A lot of our followers are food accounts. I showed an example, kind of a randomized scroll through our follower count or through our DMs, and the profile pictures that are marked with a yellow diamond are food accounts, which is very interesting. So every scroll and screenshot, you have around 4 or 5 food accounts. So that ends up being a pretty high percentage of total followers. So a lot of our audience interactions have to do with exchanges of exposure. In many cases, we are exchanging a feature for a feature. So the food community is pretty, I wouldn't say exclusive, but it's a pretty tight-knit but broad community. So people are pretty exclusively food-oriented if that's the kind of content they share. And accounts like follow very specific food pages to their account. So for instance, in the beginning, we were kind of gearing more towards vegan and vegetarian and healthy. And as such, we were getting a lot of follow requests from other vegan, vegetarian accounts. So it is a pretty secular communal climate.
So we had a series of main takeaways throughout this project. The first one is just that posting content regularly, so multiple times every day, is kind of really key to keeping our audience engaged and interacting. So sometimes earlier on in the semester, we would have some gaps between posts, which makes sense while we were going out on our study tours or something like that. But since moving over to Quarren Chefs, we've really been posting either real posts or on our story multiple times every day, which I think is keeping people engaged. Like Sam just talked about, joining a community of pages similar to ours allowed us to reach a lot more viewers. So when we were getting shout outs on other food pages, I think all this interconnection also is what led to us being on the Explorer pages more. So that gave us more likes and more people saw our page. One of our focuses the whole way through, both with Hidden Gems and Quarren Chefs, was the aesthetics and kind of just keeping a really professional, clean look, which I think we did a good job of the whole time. I think that's really important when trying to get people to buy into why they should follow your page. And lastly, we learned that by reaching out and following people first and then getting these follow backs, that was the best way to kind of gain a really big base of followers early on. And then once we kind of had a couple hundred followers, it was easier to just make that number go higher and higher because people know that people are already enjoying our content. And then so we had a couple ideas for the future. The first and most obvious one is that we're going to have to transition away from the Quarren Chefs theme pretty soon towards kind of just a general food page, because obviously people are not going to be quarantined forever, hopefully. Another idea that we had was to include kind of a chef in all of our posts, like have a person behind the page so that there's more of a like there's an identity and someone that people feel like they're talking to when they're messaging the page, and it just gives us like a personality that people can identify with. So someone like Gordon Ramsay, you know, people are going to specifically watch his shows because they like him. We kind of talked about this the whole way through, but holding some cooking contests would be really interesting to increase viewer participation, and then members would start to get to know each other a little bit. Like if we had people cook the same dish and then other people vote on which one looked the best potentially. And then lastly, we thought that some in-person meetups, once that's possible, could be fun. So our followers are really spread out all over the world now that we're a food page and we're not Copenhagen centered, but we could still try to find a city where a lot of people live and suggest a meetup to go get something to eat or something like that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for watching.